I think it's going live. I think. I'm not for sure. Let's find out. Shall we? Good evening, folks. I was going to get into tonight the basically the issue with everybody. Well, not everybody, but lots of people using social media as an attempt to have a therapy session, and also the fact of there's a lot of people who it seems like they're continuously going through relationships, and then everybody's calling the other person a narcissist at the end of it or something else, and it's wrong. I mean, it's not wrong because it's ethically wrong that people are doing that. It's wrong that they are wrong, as a matter of fact. And I'll get into that right now. I need to play a couple of commercials just to get going, and I'll be right back with you. And this is for a good friend of mine, Corey Thomas. He has a book out called Sound Advice. It's actually a really good book. It breaks the mold. It's a new thought on music and spirituality, so it's cool. But here you go.
Author, evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
All right. Like I said, that's a friend of mine, and man, he's a really smart guy. He's more than a smart guy. He's a really personable guy as well, and he's a really honest, down to earth guy. He went from he graduated Duke University, was a standout football player there, went in the Hall of Fame, and went to the NFL. And all about his life is he gives more than he takes, really. But he fought hard to get where he's at, and he deserves every bit of it. And he used to be a boss of mine as well, so I just feel sorry for him on that point. But let's delve into this a little bit. I wanted to first, I'll print off everything after I write some of it out. But all right, one, I wanted to go over the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. Okay. And I really, in going through this, just for cause and effect here, I'm working on my master's in psychology with this concentration in substance abuse. But getting to the point here, I always talk about something called a dry drunk, and a lot of people think I'm just making that up or something like that. It really is a disorder of sorts, because what a dry drunk is, that can mean everything from heroin to alcohol. Is they're not necessarily, their body's not filled with substances, so their actions can't be based on the substances that they used to ingest, but they still have the same behavior. So they haven't changed for the fact that they're still manipulating. They're still, in my area, it's a lot of them are false witness, meaning it's, amen every time you say a sentence, and praise Jesus. And it's just a manipulation, but I'll get into that another time. I don't feel like going on about that tonight, but here is the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. It's a grandiose sense of importance, preoccupation with unlimited success, belief that one is special and unique, exploitive of others, lack of empathy, arrogance, and jealousy of others. So what you're looking at there is, I've dealt with a lot of them. I know when I was a drunk, I was really arrogant, and I was manipulative as well, but I didn't have the part inside of me that felt like hurting others all the time. So when you're looking at narcissistic, I see this all the time, and I talk about it because I see people constantly going through relationship changes, like let's say 12 in a year, one every 30 days, and at the end of that cycle, it's a rinse and repeat, as they'll put up on there how narcissistic the guy is, and let's say this is a good-looking person. Then everybody, let's say it's female, then every guy on her page, group, whatever, is going to agree with her. So therefore, that's a terrible form of getting therapy. I mean, it's enabling, because to me, when I look at it now, after I've studied this so much, is I mean, it becomes so disingenuous. But the other side of that coin is the person who may not be a narcissistic at all is they're definitely, listen, narcissistic personality disorder is very rare. It's not one of those things that you just go date somebody, you don't get along, and then all of a sudden they're narcissist. It doesn't work that way. And when I see these posts constantly about, he was a narcissist, she was a narcissist, I just sit there and scratch my head. Because it gets to a point of being ridiculous. And, other people's lives are affected by it. Even their children can be affected by it, close friends, family, whatever. It's just really, it's a backwards thing to do. I'm not saying that everybody's not a narcissist, but if you constantly are going through a different guy or girl every so often, and then your only retort at the end is to say, well, they were a narcissist anyway because they didn't like me. And yeah. Or they took advantage of you. Another way to look at that, though, is somebody like a dry drunk. Okay. There's plenty of people who get out of rehab, get out of jail, and haven't changed. It doesn't mean they're using substances. They may piss clean. I mean, it's just the way it goes. But they still got that manipulation stuff inside of them. There's a unique category for all this, is there's people that can use your empathy against you as a weapon. And please go ahead and Google that. I allude to it all the time, but it's something that happens, and it's much scarier than somebody being a narcissist. A narcissist, most of the time, well, give and take, might not even realize they're being narcissistic, or just bragging about themselves, or being braggers or something like that. I mean, it gets so compacted into people's opinions. It's like the people who read the Bible and turn it around to fit their own agenda, and it never works. So like, I was thinking about this the other day, and I put it down. People who constantly accuse the other person of cheating, and I'm sure everybody's heard this once in a while, but the people that constantly are accusing somebody else of cheating, more than likely, it's probably to maybe be hiding something of their own guilty conscience, or it could be they're trying to see if you're playing them. They could be trying to outsmart you. It's just not a good game to play. I mean, but it happens. I mean, this is a regular. If you start dating somebody you don't trust in the first place, what's the point in really dating them? I mean, that's just my point. And but you go through so many cycles with this. So the person that's accusing the other of cheating, a lot of times just ends up being that person is trying to project themselves on to the person who they're accusing of cheating when they're actually doing it, but it throws them off the scent. So then they're in their minds, they're getting away with it because they're making you guilty when they are guilty. But the preoccupation with you feeling guilty kind of makes it, it's just a mind game. That's all it is. Let's call it trickery. So you go through that, and then I go on Facebook, and this happens a lot, and it's the people that use Facebook for therapy. I strongly don't recommend it, because you've got people of every religion, race, creed, and everything else, and so many varying opinions. for example, if a Democrat puts something up and, it may be they're having a bad day. Well, somebody's going to pop on there and say something about them. A Republican pop on there and say, well, it's because you're a Democrat. And, but more to it than that. Like, I've seen people get on there crying out for help. I've seen people do that who end up dead. And, that's the truth. I've got two friends in particular I can think of who their last Facebook message was their last. Even if it was, even if somebody put something on there incoherent, I mean, you look at it and you're like, what are they even talking about right there? And then, this is somebody who's always crying out for help. There's a phenomenon about this with social media in general, where people cannot be their genuine selves on there because they're always feeling like somebody's better than them, or somebody's got a nicer car than them, somebody's got a better job than them. And I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And this is where it can, this is actually the 5 dangers of Facebook here. And I was just reading this earlier. This is not my own. This is from a psychologist named Leon Festinger. Basically, it starts with number 1. It can make you feel like your life isn't as cool as everyone else's social media. That creates a social comparison, really. And it can also lead to a social polarization. Like everybody's trying to be like, somebody else. It's kind of like that old saying. I see it as do as I say, not as I do. Because, I mean, some people have lives on Facebook, TikTok, and everything else that are just flat out, they're not real. And trying to live up to those standards is utterly ridiculous to me. I know from my personal life, I deal with doing testimonies. I haven't done one in a while, but I'll go do testimonies. And I ran into an issue that I never, ever thought I would run into. And that was envy of my testimonies, like people saying I made it up. And I didn't. I did actually die. And I got to a point where I put all my medical records on Facebook along with pictures. And you look at a jaundiced man in a hospital bed who's got 2-3 months to live. Actually, it started out as 3 days, but I went home terminal. But grace of God, I'm here. And I mean, I'm here. And medical, they can't explain it. But to get that going right there is, I have dealt with people who, for some reason, are envious because my story's out there, and it's, I do glorify God. I'm faith-based. And, that's what happened to me. But for some reason, makes some certain folks feel like they got to live up to that, and that's just not how it goes. I know with me in particular that it was not a fun ride, but I also wouldn't change it for the world because it got me where I am today. And that's with God and life in general and everything else. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had a drink, and I don't count days. I know that's the norm of what we're supposed to do, but I really don't, because I'm indifferent to it. And indifferent, and my buddy Corey and I both had mentioned something about that this week. Indifference is worse than hate. I mean, it really is worse than hate. Hate still takes energy, and indifference is not. Indifference is when you don't care. So to me, I'm indifferent to alcohol, and a lot of people don't like to hear me say this, but it's the honest truth. Is I can go into a liquor store, I can go into a Kroger's, I can go into a place to eat, and I'm in Central Kentucky where everybody's everybody here drinks. I mean, it's Bourbon County in the United States. And I always mention the largest liquor store in the U.S. is in Lexington, Kentucky. But I found when I came out of all this, and this was my second trip with, I was in a coma in 2008. I mentioned that last week. But when I came out of it this time, I was like, I can't expect myself not to be able to leave the house. I mean, here you can't go to Kroger and not run into alcohol. So I get in that whole thing about triggers. And the way triggers were taught to me was very much classical conditioning. And I don't like it. I don't agree with it. And I never will. And there's a roundabout way we can go about all this. But the most important thing is if somebody's sober, I'm glad whatever way they're doing it. If it works for them, that's great. But I'm also one to caution about the whole AA mentality and stuff like that, because at this point, it really is archaic. I mean, you're looking at the 1920s and not much updating on this program since then. But the inherent issue there is some people actually develop a social addiction to AA. So if they don't make a meeting, they get all whacked out. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But so for some things in social media, like I know I was reading through the psychology do's and don'ts for my future here. And, some people do make friends with patients on social media. Some people don't. The ones that do, the reason they do it is to get a better insight into their client's life, basically. And I don't know. I think that would absolutely drive me crazy. But that's just me being me. And there's so much to look at. But when somebody's putting up on Facebook, poor me, this is what's happening. And I swear, I mean, with me, I can sometimes, like a friend of mine and I have done a group together a long time ago. And it was painfully obvious the people that were in there who were a little messed up, I'll say. And because, I mean, it's just something I immediately recognize. It doesn't take me 5 minutes. It's because I've been there. So when I see all these stories on Facebook, it can remind me of me. And what I mean by that is the me that was BSing everything to try and justify my own bad behavior. And that's the life of substance abuse, alcohol use disorder. I really don't like using the words addiction or alcoholic. I've talked about that in the past, but simply it puts a scarlet letter on your chest, and you don't have to wear that. I mean, you don't have to belong to that club. Now, you need to understand if you have alcohol use disorder or substance abuse disorder that, you're probably not one that's good at it. As I always say about myself is, I absolutely suck at drinking. I mean, I failed at it so many times. And what's the definition of doing the same thing over and over again? It is what it is. So, in covering that, where I said it can, number two was it can lead you to envy of your friend's successes. If you're down and you're feeling like, nothing's coming together for you, and your friends are posting up about a new car they just got or promotion, you can't find a job and stuff like that. And you take it too seriously and it puts you into a depressed state. It's something, again, that you need to be wary of. And if things that are bothering you, just go out, take a break. I mean, it's the same as anything. Facebook can sometimes be like a job where you need to take a break, take a breather, and just, chill out a little bit. But it can lead to a sense of false consensus, which I see this all the time. A lie that somebody tells can turn into the truth really quickly on a social media platform. I mean, there's some of the smartest people I know. I talk about this all the time, but I mean, somebody directly can lie to them in these conspiracy theories, and man, people are taking it for. I mean, it's like God's talking to them himself, the way they get so emphatical about it. And then if they get other people to do it or to go along with them, you get that groupthink process, which means everybody's turning into one like mine. And that's a chaos that really I don't like dealing with. And I'll say it flat out for what it is right now is I think there's a lot of it in politics right now that the former leader, and I say this because it's true, and people say this is not true, they'll say it's fake news, but I saw an interview with Donald Trump where the interviewer points out to a monitor of a recording of him at a rally and some of the stuff he said. And he says, I didn't say that. They took it wrong. False news, fake news. I was like, no way, man. I mean, seriously. And but people believe that stuff, and then it turns into chaos. You look at after the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, and dude real close up here by me went and shot up the FBI building in Cincinnati. Uh, and it's led to more than that. There's been online threats. This hostile stuff is it's because everybody gets trapped in that general consensus of we're right, you're wrong, and it's just it's a group with like-minded thoughts. And that goes into group polarization, which I always mention as well. And that's group polarization is how Jonestown happened, and how Waco, Texas happened, and the Branch Davidians and Jim and Tammy Faye Baker's people, and so on. I mean, the list goes on. It's stuff to be wary for. Like, if you don't feel comfortable with something and you're like, I'm not sure that's true, I mean, just research it a little bit. You can go into the gas prices right now, and this is not it's neither Trump's fault or Biden's fault, but it gets going that Biden raises gas prices, and that's impossible. It's global market pricing, and beyond that, Trump didn't raise them, so you can't sit here and blame either one of them. But people don't like that. You got to have somebody to blame. So if you do that and you go back and research, the gas prices raised 30%. In Trump's last year of office. After Biden took over, another 16%. But again, it's neither of their fault. I mean, it's global market pricing. This is an American phenomenon. And, I don't think that Biden or Trump or either one president of Ireland, as far as I know, but who knows? All right, next. It can keep you in touch with people you'd really rather forget. This is a danger for those of us in substance abuse disorder. Factually and actually, there are some people that we probably shouldn't still be talking to. It's that old friend that's you've been sober a long time. One hit, one drink ain't gonna hurt you. Yeah, well, one drink, as I put up a post yesterday from Robert Downey Jr., is, I'd like to have one drink, but I'd hate to miss Christmas. Like one drink at Thanksgiving, and I'd hate to miss Christmas. That's the truth, because that's very much the way that I drank. Was I could go for a while without drinking. I mean, I'd go sometimes 6 months. I mean, and but then after that one drink, I would spiral out, quit taking my Zoloft or whatever. I wouldn't take pills and drink. It's just something I don't do. And I don't know why. I've never tried to get to the bottom of it. But that also brought up that just this year alone, I was finally diagnosed with PTSD from a really abusive childhood. And I never talked about that before. And by doing that, I just pushed it down, and I never faced it. And it was constantly boiling over. Like when I would go cold turkey off Zoloft, I'm not saying it gave me detox, but in a way it's still then stuff's coming back to your mind that you don't want to remember and you don't want to face, so you drink it to numb out. And I was very much a self-medicator, but I self-medicated to the point where I went into liver and kidney failure, and they actually called it end stage. So that means, that's where I said I was terminal, and that's what it boiled down to. And it was really the first time in my life that I wasn't scared of dying. And I have to repeat this so much that to get people to really understand it, really know it's the truth. I wasn't scared of dying. I was scared of dying alone. And what I meant by that is I didn't have any Jesus in my life. Even though I grew up and said I was religious, I did the church plays. I prayed. I didn't know how to pray. And this all came to fruition. This is when I got out of the hospital and went home to die with supposed to have hospice care. But my favorite person in the world, Nurse Beth, told me that I fired him. I don't remember it. But you go on with that. I had such a loss of God, and I take it back, and I don't think I've said this on here before, but I saw this interview one time with Jim Morrison. He was the lead singer of The Doors, for those that aren't familiar. And this interviewer asked him one question, and it was really hard to get him to do an interview because I mean he was space cadet a lot of times, but he was also kind of brilliant as a philosopher, if you will. And she asked him what happened to him to make him the way he is now. And he said it in a song too, but he said heartache and the loss of God. And uh, I felt that. I know what it felt like. And, nobody can change it, take it away, nothing else. I explained to a guy on my page the other day that I'm not one of those people who's going to go and beat a Bible over your head. I hated it when people did that to me. And I also see the utter hypocrisy right now in Christianity because there's not a lot of these larger leaders that are. There's coming out of the woodwork, man. I mean, you've got that guy out of Tennessee who wants to say kill Democrats, and his popularity is raising daily. I mean, that's not it. I don't want to kill any Republicans. I am a Democrat, but I'm that way for a reason. And like I said last week, a lot of people who say they're Democrat and Republican have no idea why they are in the first place, and they have no idea what either one of them actually means. So, I mean, it's a null and void thing. And that's just the way it goes. Political arguments could be good on Facebook if they were debates and could produce any fruit, but not in this generation. I'm 46 years old, and I've never seen things the way they are right now. I mean, we have regressed so much in the last 6 years that we've lost the God in this, and we've gone back. I mean, this is a more racist nation than it was 6 years ago, and that to me is just sad and bigoted. I mean, the neurodiversity that was becoming more and more acceptable is gone, and that's just life. All right, number 5. It can make you jealous over your current partner. Yes, and yes, and yes. Most people I've dated, I would not have as a friend on Facebook because, we're human when it comes down to it. And, there's some stuff that might bother us. But it also gives you that feeling of ownership, like you own that person. And, I know of people who have gotten completely just off the wall, irate, ticked off. Because their significant other, some guy was telling them they were pretty or something, and it ends up being the guy's sister. This is just stuff that actually happens. The guy's cousin, the guy's mother-in-law. I don't know, but that stuff does happen, and it's so policing your significant others. Facebook is basically a lack of trust in the first place, and and me, I don't want to be in a relationship of any kind with anybody that I got to worry about what they're doing on Facebook. I mean, everybody has different opinions on this. Some call it emotional cheating and so on and so on. I'd say there's various, there's a ladder to that right there. And it just is. I know some people are completely shady on Facebook. Like, I saw a friend of mine on there the other day that, she's a smart lady. And some dude had, what do they call it? Slide into her DMs. And said something about, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I see all the guys flirting with you and everything else, but I just wanted you to tell you you're beautiful and your beautiful eyes and everything else. And she wrote him back and said, that's great. I hope your wife thinks she is and your 2 kids. I was like, well, it's not really hard to research. And if somebody's being crass like that, let's just face it. It's, you don't need it, and you can easily block people on there. I know a lot of people are more worried about their friend head count than they are having that zone where it's like, get out, man, or woman. I over the years, back to all the way to MySpace is, I was pretty popular on that archaic, I like that word, um, thing. But I was one of the top writers on that, and so I would write things, and I am a good writer. I mean, that was my go-to profession at one point. But I'd sit there and write and pour my heart out. I mean, like I was literally one of those people who would write, and I had to write emotionally. Sometimes I'd be drunk, but it would bring up cognitive memories. I don't know how to explain that, but long story short, but then I'd start getting all these chickadees that would send me private messages, and so on and so on. I was in my 20s then, so that was a little bit different. But I get it, and I just think it's intrusive. And my theory on that one is to block them out, because I mean that can lead to other problems. If you, let's say you leave your computer open and your husband or boyfriend or something like that comes in, and you've been having a conversation with some stranger who's clearly wanting more than you're willing to give, and your significant other takes that the completely wrong way. I mean, that can cause some issues, and it's to me, it's not worth it. Okay. Here's another one on why it's bad for you. And I've had to do this myself, like look into people, and it may be a newer thing, but I know when I was last in the car business and in management, I would look up people on Facebook, because the person you're interviewing can be a completely different person outside of there. And there's been arguments about that. Is it ethical for you to do that and not let people have their private lives? I'd like to personally know how people behave in their private lives, because I wouldn't have hired me, and that's the truth. So I mean, if you put it on Facebook, you put it out public. I don't even want to argue about it. It's free game, so don't back yourself into a corner that you can't get out of. And we've all seen instances of this the last decade at least. I mean, I mean, anything, you could write something 20 years ago and it's going to come back to you. And that's just the way it is. I know the most instances, because I have to study a lot of the social media stuff for classes, and I write some papers on them, or have been writing some papers on them. And I mean, Twitter is the biggest one for people to just kind of say stuff that don't sound like them or act like them, or just really kind of ain't them in real life, but they'll say it on Twitter. And then when it comes back, they're like, oh, that was like a year ago. I'm not that way now. And it doesn't work that way. All right. So that would be basically, it can reveal information you might not want to share with potential employers. And that's the truth. Here's the way Dr. Festinger put it out there. Do you really want a potential employer to know about how drunk you got at last week's kegger, or the interesting wild night that followed with the girl in the blue bikini? Okay, so out of a study of 550 people, it found 40% of the users mentioned alcohol use on their Facebook page. 20% mention sexual activities. We often think that these posts are safe for prying eyes, but that might not be the case. While 89% of job seekers use social networking sites, 37% of potential employers do as well. And they're actively looking into their potential hires. Okay. So basically it says if you're on the job market to check your privacy settings and delete stuff you don't want on there. To me, I'd do that long before I went looking for a job. Now, I haven't deleted any of my stuff back from my drinking days or anything like that, because I like to face it myself and see why exactly I don't drink anymore. And, I don't miss it. I don't like it. I don't go through those. I meditate a lot now, and I pray a lot, and I do other things like, I got back into building Legos for stress management. It works. I know that sounds goofy, but it works. And there's more and more studies about, using Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever else to relieve stress. Why do I keep saying stress? Stress in a much healthier way. It could be exercise. It could be playing dress up, going through your closet and figuring which outfits you want, which outfits you don't want anymore. Unless that, it's going to depress you in some way, but I don't think so. And two, reading is another good one that I use. Like I said, I read Corey Thomas's book at least like 4 times now, and to me, that was its greatness in dealing with the other issues. I mean, and I'm saying this seriously. I don't have cravings and I don't have triggers. That's not to brag. I'm just saying that I faced it so that I don't. And because it just came to a realization of me, and this is before I started back into going for my master's in psychology, is I was like, these triggers can't be real. I mean, we don't. If we're worried about everything, if we're worried about going to sit down at a restaurant or go out in public or go to Kroger, you're setting yourself up for failure. And a lot of people don't like my methods because everybody thinks theirs is right. I know what works for me, and I hope everybody else knows what works for them. And that's just it. But, I can just strongly encourage doing some of the things I've done because it's experience. And I was somebody who wouldn't put down the bottle until, I was basically going to be in the ground. And if I wouldn't have had those talks with God towards what was supposed to be my dying days, my last 3 weeks at home were supposed to be when I did pass away. Those talks with God and getting pulled back up off of a floor and saying, you know what, restoration and salvation. Right now, I have a really serious 100% healed. And like I say, I can't say this enough, but even when I go to the doctors now, it used to be I had a checkup every week, then it was 2 weeks, then it was a month, and now then it was 6 months, and now it's like, I don't know if it's 6 months or a year. She'd mentioned both of them, but all the doctors are amazed at how I healed. And everybody says, I just don't know how you did that. And I was like, it wasn't me. I didn't fight that strong. The hospital didn't save me. The medicine was not saving me at all. And it ends up, what saved you is, and it's not just my opinion, it's what I have faith in, is that it was God that saved me from where I was at in life. And that's just the truth. But again, I don't have to beat a Bible over your head, but you, in the same right, I get a lot of flack for that, for saying, oh, well, you were dying, so of course you love God now. Or, people say everybody that gets out of jail was, oh, yeah, now they love God. Now, granted, there's a lot of people that take advantage of that. There's a lot of people that take advantage of Christianity in the first place. And there's a lot of people that are wolves or the lions just creeping around to devour you, Yeah, that's straight from the Bible. But I mean, you just have to be diligent. What I meant by when I say sober-minded on here, body, mind, and soul, sober-minded does not necessarily mean drinking or drugging or anything else. I mean, you can completely be drunk with power, money. We all know that there's a sex addiction out there. I mean, it can just be, there's so many things it could be that, you idolize, like I'll say from some of the younger ladies that have been in my family and so on. And, idolizing something like the Kardashians, for example, is, I know that younger people don't get that yet, but to me, I make a mental note of why in the world would I want to be like that person? $1 billion, I guess, is fine and dandy and all, but I know the most money I ever made, which was a good amount of money. I was the most miserable I ever was. And I'm not making that up for fun and giggles. I mean, it was really a time that I wouldn't go back to now. I'd go back to dying, but I wouldn't go back to when I had the best paychecks. And I go back to the last election, and I was in a faith-based rehab at the time. We went to this one church, and the pastor said, he's not telling us how to vote, which he was telling us how to vote, but to vote for the person we morally and ethically align with the most. And he was speaking about Trump, of course. Morally and ethically, I don't think I aligned with anybody at that point. And it's just we have to make our choices based on what would you do, or the old saying now, and I can't even believe I'm saying it's old. What would Jesus do? I mean, if we put a little bit more of that in our heads, or I think we all have a moral compass that comes with a little bit of nature and a lot of nurture as well. I mean, wrong and right is definitely taught. I mean, I can't have anything that can tell me different that racism is. Anybody that says it's not taught is foolish and just purposely being ignorant. You're not born racist, and you're not born with any kind of bigotry at that. I mean, it's nature. So, when you see somebody out there, I mean, it could come from their parents, it could come from their family, and sometimes it becomes a social thing of fitting in. I mean, I know that's hard to believe, but yes, it happens all the time. I know when I was at Lafayette High School in Lexington, Kentucky, we had a lot of skinheads and whatnot. And why are they skinheads? Because they thought it looked cool. And that's it. I mean, none of them understood what they were doing. And people don't once they get in a clique. I mean, it's the way it goes. All right. Number 7. And this, I think everybody knows. If you don't, I mean, it couldn't be more obvious. But Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, what else is out there? Snapchat. I've never used it. I don't understand it, but I know a lot of people talk about it. So, again, I don't really know enough about that one to say anything. But it can become addictive. Well, think society's most common addictive substances are coffee, cigarettes, and alcohol? Think again. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, that's the DSM, which is DSM-5 now. That's basically how a psychologist determines where you're at in the scale of mental illness. I could tell you more, but that would take me forever. The 5, that's the newest level. The DSM changes with time. I mean, it's updated and more research comes in. So it's really a fruitful thing. And, anybody can look up what it means. You don't have to, you don't have to get your master's to look into that. It's good. As I said earlier, I mean, I really strongly wish more people did research. It's amazing what you can do. I mean, with a few clicks and a little bit of typing on the keyboard. But apparently word of mouth is stronger. So I don't know. But all right, so DSM-5 includes a new diagnosis that has stirred controversy. A series of items gauging internet addiction. I've not got that far into it actually to know this one, but I am reading it from Dr. Festinger. So, since then, Facebook addiction has gathered attention from both popular media and empirical journals, leading to the creation of a Facebook addiction scale. To explore the seriousness of this addiction, Dr. Hoffman and his colleagues randomly texted pictures over the course of a week to ask what they most desired at that particular moment. They found among their participants social media use was craved even more than tobacco and alcohol. That is crazy. And no pun intended. Wow. I mean, think about that. That can mean you're addicted to false narratives. Yeah, I don't like that. I myself have decided to quit dropping my politics into everything. Especially with Facebook, it's become such a fruitless task. You correct somebody, you got 20 other people correcting you on 20 things they don't know, and then their friends of friends of friends don't know anything, but they apparently know friends that are in high places that they met in 1982. So that is the way it goes with that one. But I think if we put more, me personally, I know what works for me, and I put more God into my life, more meditation, more prayer, more, this is something I like. I haven't had to tell any fibs, tell any lies since I've been, since I came back to life, and since I've been sober. I know that sounds like little, but when you're dealing with somebody in any kind of substance abuse, that's just what they do, what we do. And half the time we don't even know what the truth is. When you get to that point where paranoia and stuff kicks in, I know for me as well, since I quit drinking, I can remember certain things like, being embarrassed to, go into like a grocery store or something. So, and I do say this, and it's funny, but it's not funny because it's true, is I really loved during COVID where people could wear masks, when it first started, because I thought that would cover up my breath. I'm not kidding you. I stuck a Downy sheet inside my mask. So, then I could go out and, when you're in the condition that I was in, where you're waiting for the liquor store to open it, in North Carolina, it was 8 a.m., because you ran out sometime around 3 and you're already starting to detox. It's a chore. And I do warn everybody I talk to seriously. There's different levels of detox in certain things. Just so everybody knows, alcohol is the most dangerous. It's the single most dangerous. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that. Next, you would go down to Xanax or something in that class. And those can both be deadly. Alcohol and Xanax can be deadly. It's scary. I've been through the alcohol detox 2 or 3 times. And I've been through seizures, hallucinations. There's one time I got arrested for an AI. Trust me, I don't have any criminal record of anything to count. I've got misdemeanors, and they're all alcohol stuff. But I started detoxing when I was in jail because, with my luck, every time I've got arrested for something alcohol related, it's been on a Friday. So court's not open till Monday. So you're automatically in there for 3 days. Ridiculous. Unless you can pay your bond or get somebody to bond you out. At the time I was, I think I had avoided everybody for a long time, but long story short, I decided the light switch was a stormtrooper from Star Wars and started fighting it with my own lightsaber, which I didn't have a lightsaber, obviously, but that really did happen. So what do you do? But going back to the main point of everything is it's a disaster how many people really, really are using Facebook for therapy. It's not a therapeutic source. Your friends are going to agree with you. His or her friends are going to agree with him or her. And it ends up a never-ending cycle because what you're doing is you're putting battle lines right there, and it's like the Civil War that we're almost in right now. But, and seriously, no, I can't use that one. Sorry, I have to keep my tongue tied when I'm on this station because it's Endure Entertainment, which is religious. I need to run a commercial for them real quick before I forget. So I'll be right back with you.
Hi guys, I'm Lady Falana, CEO and founder of Endure Entertainment. When you think of clean entertainment, think of Endure Entertainment. When you think of Endure Entertainment, think of clean entertainment. The Endure Entertainment television personalities. We are the A-Team. We're more than just a team. We're family. Look at all of the different syndicated podcast directories we are on. Go ahead and download those apps so you don't miss our shows on the go. Endure Entertainment LLC started October 2021. Now we're in 17 countries outside of the United States. Featured in CBS, Fox, and NBC. Gospel Choice Music Awards nominated for Independent Broadcast Network of the Year. We do more than just TV. We also do virtual concert extravaganzas. Our last one this past January was off the chain. You can look at our shows, virtual concert, and TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at EndureEntertainment.live. Radio. Next coming up is going to be the radio station of the year on Endure Entertainment. Ever thought about having your own show, television, radio? Would you like to get some exposure with your radio edited version of your performing artistic abilities? Take a look at Endure Entertainment.
That got it in there. All right, cool. Well, that's Endure there. That's a station that I'm on, obviously. And Lady Falana, the CEO, is really just a great person. And I do appreciate them letting me on Endure Entertainment. But that's going to do it for me this week. I wanted to get in a quick devotion. I always do this really for me, but I do it for everybody too. Because if you get anything from me, just understand that what happened to me is real, and the reason I'm here is it's really. I mean, it restored my faith when Jesus restored me. To health. Granted, it was a long process, but I've never learned more in a year of my life. And beyond that, longer than a year, but during the healing time. And then beyond that, I've never learned more in my life about living. And that's the best way I can put it. It's really, it's nice to be alive and enjoy things that I once just couldn't enjoy. I mean, and I thank God every day, every morning, every night that I'm here because I should be a memory. And, so I kind of felt like after all that, by the way, I felt like my calling was to pay it forward and go and help others with the experience that I have in going through this mess because it's so stigmatized that it's ridiculous. But anyway, whenever I open this, like I just did, I just open it, and whatever I turn to, somehow it miraculously 9.99999 out of 10 times is something I'm going through today. So, it's like where they call it a living Bible. If you really read it, you can kind of get yourself into what's going on there. All right, so this is day 232, and it's entitled Jesus is the Way. All right, so this is from John 14:6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth of... Wait a second. Okay, Jesus answered, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to Father except through me. Again, John 14:16. Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered recovery program. Those aren't just words. We aren't putting a Jesus sticker on it and calling it Christ-centered. The cornerstone of this program is Jesus. Without him, there is no life change. Without him, there is no hope. Without him, there is no future. With him, though, everything changes. He is truly the way and the truth and the life. Let's look at it this way. Jesus is the way to a changed life. He is the way to peace. He is the way to heaven. Jesus is the way to find freedom from our hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Jesus is the way, the best way, and the only way. Jesus is also the truth. Many teachers claim to have the truth, but only Christ claims to be the truth. In a world of pretenders and deceivers, he is the only one we can trust, the only one who can answer our questions and free us from the lies of the enemy. Jesus gave us life. He pulls it from inside himself and offers it to us freely and abundantly. When we accept Jesus as our Savior, we find the true life, a life free of hurts, hang-ups, and habits. Jesus will show you the way, he will tell you the truth, and he will give you life. The prayer for this one is, Father God, thank you for lighting up the path before me. opening my eyes to the truth and giving me eternal life. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, that will be it for me. And I appreciate everybody that tunes in. Mostly, especially people end up watching it afterwards, and I'm grateful for that as well. I'm one of those unique people that doesn't want anything from you. I'm just telling you my story, and it's real, so I'm sticking to it. And yeah, thanks everybody. And just it's also celebrate recovery is not just about substance abuse and stuff like that. For me, it's very fruitful in the depression, anxiety I deal with as well. So I wanted to make that clear. Recovery is not just pigeonholed to substance abuse. Recovery is recovering from ailments, from mental illness, lots of stuff. So, but anyway, I'm getting tired. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining. And I will see you all next week at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. All right. Good night.